I want to ask you a question and I need you to be honest with me, even if it's just in your own head, right? So, have you ever been in a situation, maybe a job, a relationship, a family dynamic where you knew it was destroying you, yet you stayed? You stayed. You made a decision to leave 1 million times in your head, and then something will just shift. Maybe you have one good moment with a person, they'll apologize, they'll send a sweet text. You know the relationship I'm talking about, you know it. There was one conversation that made you feel one way again, and then you just decided, you know what, I'm not living anymore. And you hate yourself for it because the cycle keeps repeating. You told yourself that you're a weak person, that you're stupid. Like, how can you keep staying here even though it's terrible for you? You told yourself that, you know what, you deserve anything that happens to you at this point because you had the opportunity to leave and yet you didn't take it. So if that's you, I need you to hear something today. I need you to carefully hear what I'm about to tell you. You are not weak. What is happening to you has a name, it has an explanation, and it lives inside your brain. It's not your character. And this video is going to break it down. So if you've ever spoken to someone about being in a toxic situation, maybe a friend, a counselor, maybe your pastor, you've probably heard them tell you, just leave the relationship. And I used to be that person, right? So people will come to me and I'll be like, just leave, just cut them off. And then I realized it wasn't so easy for people to do. You heard things like, decide that you're done and you're done. Once you decide you're done, you're done. And I want to say something about that advice. It's not like it's wrong, it's just incomplete. An incomplete advice given to someone trapped in a toxic dynamic doesn't just fail to help, it actually makes things worse because now they feel judged on top of being trapped. Here's what nobody asks when they tell you just leave. Nobody asks you, why can't you? Now, not why won't you leave, why can't you leave? Because there's a very specific, very documented neurological reason that leaving a toxic person, even one who is clearly harming you, even one you don't even respect the person anymore, you might not even love the person anymore, but it just feels impossible to leave. And it has nothing to do with your strength of character. It has everything to do with what the relationship has done to the reward system inside your brain. Stay with me. So now, I don't know if you know what a slot machine is, right? Maybe you've probably seen one somewhere, or maybe even used it. It's that kind of thing. You put in a coin, maybe you pull a lever, and then one of two things happen. Maybe you can either win something or you win nothing. So here is a fascinating thing about slot machines. They are specifically designed not to give you a reward every time, because psychologists discovered something extraordinary. When a reward comes unpredictably, sometimes yes, sometimes no, you can't really figure out the pattern, it's unpredictable, the human brain becomes more fixated on getting the reward, not less. So it's called intermittent reinforcement. It's the single most powerful conditioning mechanism known in psychology. There's a guy called B.F. Skinner. He discovered this in the 1950s. He found out that animals and humans will persist in a behavior for far longer, far more desperately when the reward is unpredictable than when it is consistent. Unpredictability is evil, I'm telling you that. The slot machine is not addictive because it pays out every time. It is addictive because it doesn't pay out every time. So now I want you to apply that to the toxic person in your life, for example. So think about it. There are moments when they are warm, they are wonderful. The version of them that it reminds you that is why I love this person so much. This is why I chose this person, right? For example, it can be a manager who praises you in front of all the team. It can be a parent who has a rare moment of genuine tenderness. It might be a partner who is kind and funny and loving for 3 beautiful days, and then without warning they shift, they become cold, they become critical, they become dismissive and cruel, and then you spend the next week or maybe the next month trying to get back the good version. Like like I know that this person, you say things like there's goodness inside of you. I know it's I know it's there. And that's how your brain is thinking, right? There's goodness inside this person. If I just do enough, if I keep doing this, if you try to replicate what you did that made them love you last time, you replay what you did differently, you adjust your behavior, you try harder, you become smaller, you become more careful, because somewhere inside of you, your brain has decided that the good version of them is the reward. I just need to find the right, combination of events and characteristics to get that reward, that good version of them. So you're not in a relationship. You are playing a slot machine. Your brain is flooded with dopamine, which is a neurochemical, the same neurochemical released by cocaine. Every single time the good version of the person appears, which makes the bad version not the reason to leave, it becomes a phase to survive until the reward comes again. So I'm not just giving you metaphors, okay? I'm not trying to be poetic. This is very measurable brain chemistry. So Dr. Helen Fisher, a neuroscientist at Rogers University, she studied the brains of people in toxic relationships using MRI scans. And the areas of the brain that were lit up were the same areas activated during addiction or obsession or craving. So your brain is not choosing weakness, your brain is in withdrawal. Okay, so now layer this with something called trauma bonding. Trauma bonding is what happens when periods of intense stress or fear are followed by moments of relief, affection, or rescue provided by the same person who caused the stress. And this might sound extreme, but let me soften it a little and make you understand it better. Let me give an example. Your boss publicly humiliates you in a meeting, and you're flooded with cortisol. Okay, your cortisol is your body's stress hormone. Your nervous system goes into a threat mode. Then at the end of the meeting, the boss pulls you aside, gives you a small compliment, tells you privately that you're actually one of their best employees on the team. It's just, and your cortisol level drops, and then you feel a kind of relief. And because the relief came from the same source as the threat, your brain begins to associate them with your safety. So it's not a conscious thing that's happening. It's not even a logical thing. It's just neurological. It's just the way the brain is wired. You begin to need them to feel okay. This trauma bonding, and it happens in workplaces, it happens in families, it happens in marriages, it happens in churches, it happens in any relationship where a person holds enough power over you to be both your source of pain and your source of relief. And here's the most important thing that I have to say about this. Trauma bonding does not mean that you love badly or that you just don't know how to love people, because that will make people think that, like, if I love harder, it means you are exposed to a psychological pattern that the human nervous system has not evolved to resist. Not yet. Okay, you're not weak, you're human. And your nervous system is responding to a mechanism that it was never designed to withstand. That's why you can't leave. That's why you go back every time. That's why just leave doesn't ever work. Are you still with me? Because there's a deeper layer to this. So now I want to talk about something that most psychology videos don't really address, and it is the reason that this pattern is especially damaging, especially in like African communities and settings. Everything I just described, the slot machine, the brain, trauma bonding, intermittent reinforcement, it's hard for everyone, okay, regardless of your color, your race, background, your context. But in many African contexts, many people grew up with a set of additional conditions that make it nearly impossible to even recognize what is happening, let alone leave. So I'm going to give you 3 of the most common ones. Stay with me. First, many of us were not given language for a lot of these emotional tactics, psychological manipulations, kind of stuff. Emotional abuse is not really a concept that many of us are familiar with. We're not familiar with the idea of gaslighting. There were no conversations around toxic dynamic. It was just, this is family. This is how it is. You respect your elders, you keep the peace, don't bring shame to the family. And if you have no language for something, you cannot name it. And if you cannot name it, you cannot protect yourself from it. Did you get that? The second thing, the toxicity was packaged as a virtue. Like things like, I'm hard on you because I love you, Bible verses like, honor your father, your mother. There's some verses that sometimes used in a manipulative sense. Things like, oh, blood is thicker than water. Even though if you go into the meaning of that proverb or whatever, that's that phrase, blood is thicker than water, it actually means the reverse of what people think it means. What happens in this family stays in this family. Okay, and these are not inherently wrong statements, but many times they have been weaponized, okay, to cover behavior that is actually like toxic, which is actually like emotional abuse, manipulation, control. And a child that is raised in this kind of environment doesn't develop a trauma bond because they are weak. They develop it because the relationship between love and pain was established before they really even had the words for either of these things. Okay, now the third thing is that usually the community structure enforces silence. So in many of our cultures, going outside of your family, for example, to seek help, like things like going for counseling, speaking to your pastor, beyond just prayer, you go to your pastor, please pray for me, let me succeed. Taking a parent or a spouse to a system of accountability is usually considered like great shame, right? So the person who speaks up pays the price for speaking up, and the person who causes harm is protected by the same community that should have intervened. And I'm saying all of this not to condemn our culture. I am very proud of my culture. I love my African culture. I love my roots. But there is a profound irreplaceable beauty in African community and family. But beauty and damage can exist in the same house, and we are even required to name both of these things. Okay, so now let me now speak to those who have been asking themselves a question. You might not even have voiced this question out aloud. So what about God? Doesn't he want me to stay, to forgive, to keep trying? And I'm going to try to answer this very, very carefully, because I don't want I'm careful my words. I don't want to say the wrong thing. I don't want my words to be misconstrued. Yes, God calls us to forgiveness, okay? He designed family, he designed covenant, he designed community, but you need to understand another truth that can exist alongside that. He also designed you. He designed your nervous system, he designed your brain. He put within you the capacity to feel fear, to feel pain, to feel distress, not to test your faith, but as a signal that something is wrong. Many times we don't understand that our emotions are signals. What we feel are signals that we have to learn to interpret. So the same God who said, I came that you may have life and have it in full, that is in John 10 verse 10, did not design that fullness to look like chronic anxiety, like walking on eggshells, like rehearsing conversations at midnight, like losing yourself slowly in a relationship or at the workplace. That was never meant to hollow you out. Proverbs 4:23 says something. It says, above all else, guard your heart, for everything you do flows from it. This is not a passive instruction. Guarding is active. It's an active activity. Guarding requires that you first recognize what is threatening your heart, and then you do something about it. Faith does not require you to call damage is just fine, I'm fine. Faith does not ask you to pretend. Faith does not demand that you sacrifice your identity or your health or your children's future on the altar of someone else's unaddressed behavior. Staying in a toxic situation is not inherently righteous, and living or protecting yourself is not inherently faithless. Both things can be true at the same time. So where do you go from here? Where do we go from here? I'm not going to give you a 5-step plan and send you on your way, because the truth is, after everything I've just described, a 5-step plan is not what you need. What you need is a system, a personalized, grounded, practical system for breaking the neurological patterns that a toxic relationship has built inside you. But I'll give you some things, okay? I'll give you a couple of things that can really help you. 3 things that you can start doing today to fix, well, not to fix everything, but to start on the journey. Number 1, name it out loud. The single most powerful first step in breaking a trauma bond is naming what it is. not to a group of people, and not say that you go and announce it publicly. Just write in your journal, say it in your own voice, right? What is happening to me is intermittent reinforcement. My brain has bonded to this person through a pattern of stress and relief. This is not love, this is conditioned response. The naming begins to separate you from the response. You start to become an observer of what is happening inside you rather than just being a victim. Does that make sense? Okay. Number 2, break the cycle of isolation. Toxic environments require your silence to survive. The moment you speak to someone safe, someone who will not minimize your experience, I'm emphasis on this. Someone who will not betray your confidence. Someone who will not just tell you that just be praying harder, just be praying harder, just be praying harder. Stay there and just be praying harder. The moment you find someone safe, the curse or the spell begins to crack. So find somebody and speak up. Number 3, decide that understanding is not the same as accepting. Understanding why you couldn't leave is not permission to stay forever. It is information. It is compassion toward yourself. But it's also the beginning of doing the work to live internally before you can maybe live externally. Because I'm not just saying that just pack your things and go. That is not really the solution. There must be an internal living before you even manifest externally. So now these are 3 things that you can start doing now, but they are not the whole journey, okay? And that's why we built a 2-day intensive course called the how to flourish even in a toxic environment and with toxic people. It's not for people who have already escaped and need to process it. It's for people who are still inside, who are still showing up to that job, you are still in that home, that family system, and you're ready to stop being consumed by it. You might not be able to live externally yet, but you want to learn how you can live internally. And in 2 days, you will understand the full mechanism of what has been done to you. You will build a personalized protection system, and you will learn how to stop carrying the environment home in your body. You will rebuild your relationship with your own identity, with your worth, with your own voice, and you will build a clear, grounded plan for what comes next. So this video gave you the why, and our course will give you the how. And we're going to leave a link in the description. Registration is open right now, and if you are not ready for the course today, that's fine, I understand. You can just join our WhatsApp community. I'll also leave the link in the description box. And yeah, we'll see you there. You're not alone, you're not broken. You are someone whose nervous system responded to a pattern that it was not designed to resist. And the fact that you're still here, still searching, still watching this video up to this point tells me something really, really beautiful about you. You have not given up on yourself. Don't start now. If this video resonates with you, please share it. Please share it. Not just for my numbers, not for my followership and subscriber count, but for the person in your life who has been trying to explain why they can't leave something and couldn't find the words. Send this to them. Let this video say what they have been unable to say. Okay? I'll see you in my next video. Bye. God bless you.